Hello. All right, fantastic. So if you missed all the panels, this is the panel to hear. Okay, throughout the day. So that's the good part. Good summary of just about every single topic that you heard of so far. But more importantly, I think from the start you heard government, you heard to an extent academia, some from the industry. What we'll try and do is summarize, some part of the questions, but really from a corporate point of view. Right? So what's the paradox we're talking about so far? I think the paradox, as summarized in the beginning, we're really speaking about the fact that the sheer number of graduates getting produced in India. We heard Siddharth speaking in the previous panel about 15 lakh engineers, and the IITians, there are only 16,000 of them, by the way. So that represents only 5% of the overall engineers getting produced, because we always seem to speak about IITs and IIMs in the context of what's right with the country, but there's a sheer number of engineers getting produced, and there is a challenge with being able to place them. Just to give you a sense to the audience, there are roughly 65 lakh graduates which pass out every year. The most preferred degree courses are BA, followed by BSc, BCom, and pretty much most of them, in an unfortunate sense, not really employable. And whose data is this? This is not my data. Let me give you a couple of data before we start out from a corporate point of view. Both Ministry of Statistics and Ministry of Labor have come out with data saying up to 15% of graduates actually are not employed. Right? That's the average. But the paradox really is the states which are the highest in literacy, if you take Kerala, for example, or Goa, for example, there that percentage goes up even higher to 20%. So 20% of those graduates are not employable at all. But what is the bigger paradox? I think the bigger paradox is the fact that, and we have 3 folks from corporates, 2 from the banking finance, 1 from logistics, and of course Dr. Abhilasha represents mostly from a more policy perspective. The question really is, on one hand, we have a challenge where we are not able to fill positions, right? And let me start with myself. I run a business where on any given month, I have 30,000 open positions, and we barely manage to fill 1/3 of it. You think of that, 30,000 positions on any given month, and we barely manage to fill 1/3 of it. And I know that in many places, because of the sheer attrition which is there, right, that even businesses are struggling to kind of fill it. So what exactly from a corporate point of view to kickstart this, before we delve into even deeper topics on this aspect, is the issue in terms of unemployment like the way you're seeing it? Why is it that you're not able to fill positions when there is a surplus of educated people available across all states? We'll start with you, Govind, and then we'll go back and then come back to Dr. Abhilasha.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. The real issue that we face as corporates is that we don't really venture out. We try to hire people from within the industry or the sector. So in a way, we are cannibalizing our own industry. We are not expanding the industry. Okay, how much are we really collaborating with institutes or colleges? Okay, the MBA course today, is it relevant? How relevant is it given the corporate framework? Are people or students who complete their MBAs, are they really employable? Are they knowledgeable enough to really enter into the corporate world? I think they are not. Okay, and over the years, we've been hiring from various institutes. We feel the quality of students has kind of deteriorated. And I think industry, that is we, and the institutes have to work together, collaborate much more deeper to be able to churn better quality of students who can be employed readily in the industry.
Okay, Jeena, from your perspective, I remember we spoke early on the day and you kind of spoke about the fact that you train people and then the people leave. Seems like a paradox there itself.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I agree to what Govind says. There are a lot of people available for employment, but how many of them are employable? That is a big question mark. Now, I represent logistic industry. Of course, nowadays you see that universities have logistic courses in logistics, courses on supply chain. But in spite of that, I am not able to take a talent whom I can put them on job. I have to train them. And my worry is that if I train them, will they be with me for a longer time? Because there's a cost of training. The other thing is that now, since we have so many vice chancellors and deans of the universities, I would really want to send this message, like, we really need something more than just education. Of course, a lot of skill development institutes have come up. Like, for example, I look for a custom qualified person. So I'm representing Jeena Company. We are into global logistics, 124 years young company. We do custom clearance, we do global logistics and international freight forwarding. Now, for custom clearance, I don't get people in the universities. So we have to motivate people within the organization to take custom exam, that is your H card, the G card, the F card. I'm sure many of you all are not even aware about it. Till I joined this industry, I was not aware about it too. This is not known to the students that these are the exams which you need to take, be custom qualified, and then get into logistic industry. People are not aware. So the only reason where we really get stuck, in spite of having vacancies, there is people available, but we are not able to employ them because we need to spend a lot on them, and time becomes a problem.
Got it. Gauri, from your point of view?
Yeah, so I agree with both of them. And from banking, the biggest challenge today is to get people in compliance. And to cite an example, from 28 candidates who were working in one of the banks, we could get 2 candidates, and both of them had 3 offers at the same time with 50%, 70% and 75% hike. So that is the scenario, because like Govind said, we are picking up people only from that pool because everyone wants to hit the road running. Nobody wants to invest time in skilling people, or because businesses are also cutthroat, so there is no other way about it. Even for smaller jobs like private banking, not a rocket science, compliance at least has come newly last 5-10 years only. For that also, I was speaking to one of the private banking branch head, and he was saying, I'm not getting people for sales role. Now that is a very, very simple role. So I said, what are you looking at? Superhuman chahiye kya? Otherwise you will get people. And he was like, no, I'm just looking for people who could speak well, who could connect with HNIs, and I would be sorted. So biggest problem I'm seeing is in soft skills. That's the area where we need to really focus on. And second, definitely the challenge would be lesser if we are ready to invest in them. So yeah.
So all the 3 from academia kind of answer. So I think the audience largely from university and colleges, I think that's one feedback, but I'll come to that in a second. Abhilasha, you are working with corporates as well. What is that they are telling you, from being able to produce people who can be effective on job from day one?
See, rather than what I have been hearing, if I see what we have been hearing since afternoon here, so earlier when we heard from academia, and the paradox is not only that talent and jobs, but the paradox is when Dr. Majumdar in his speech said that in late 90s or in early 2000, there was a gap that what academia is producing and what industry wants. In 2024, the same thing my co-panelists are also telling. So that's the paradox. So from academia point of view, people feel, yes, the curriculum is developed. We have world-class facilities in our labs. We do have professors with industry experience. But when we hear from the industry, that's the another side of the coin. So almost 77 years of independence. And we are talking few more years, 2047, and we want to be a developed nation. So this paradox has to become a paradise.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the things will not change. And when I say it has to become paradise, in that case, for bridging this gap, the government have already started taking steps. Just to highlight some of them, if you know that earlier it used to be Ministry of HRD and then Ministry of Education. So around 10 years back, it was realized that not only that, one of my co-panelists said, the quality of students is deteriorating. Another one said, we need more than education. So I think government also realized the need, and they said, we need to have a separate ministry for skills and entrepreneurship, because that is the way forward. So it's not only the basic foundation degree, but skilling, which will be icing on a cake, which will increase the price value of a plain vanilla cake to a fondant cake, or you can say, same way the employability quotient have to be increased. Like, for example, for logistics, maybe a BBA logistics or a BTech logistics, but do they actually know how to fill various forms? So that is the reason the Ministry of Skill Development, the thing has come that India identifies 36 sectors where anybody can get employment. So it can be, I was just talking to somebody, I was telling them it can be aviation, it can be automobile, it can be banking, it can be construction, it can be even the domestic workers who are working at your places, it can be green jobs, it can be IT, ITS, it can be electronics, and so on. So in these 36, government has made 36 sector skill councils. So all these sector needs can be identified. And this gap, what we are seeing today, so there is a logistics sector skill council also, and there is a banking and financial sector skill council also, who focuses on these sectors and says, okay, you have done maybe 12th, you have done a diploma or a ITI or a graduation, maybe a BTech, then do you require some domain knowledge also after that? And these courses can be a 60-hour course or a 600-hour course. So normally 3 to 6 months of programs, which are more of, you can say, hands-on training kind of things, that what actually industry requires. So skilling does not say that the foundation degree is not required. We only say that once you have a foundation degree, you keep on adding those certifications. You keep on adding those value-added programs, and that is what the corporate requires.
Got it. Got it. I think, one news item that, many of you would have read, which came over almost a month back, about an IT company, being trolled, saying, listen, you're still paying the same salary that you paid for freshers 20 years back, right? Which was pretty much minimum wages. When you go back, by the way, to the CHRO of some of the mid-size IT companies, when I went back, they said, listen, the paradox is they think it's a salary, but it's a stipend. Because, that's really not a salary. I'm really teaching them for soft skills and hard skills. So that's the problem. When you go back to the university and speak to them, they said, please look at corporate's track record. They can't even forecast what's going to be the next job. How am I expected to be able to teach something that even corporates don't know about? So it's both sides of the story. Now you see I'm putting in a bit of a spot from the corporate side. What is the expectation really? So one is vocational skills, and that's understandable. What's really the expectation from the university? From an education perspective.
Yeah, so one of the things that we've tried is the hire, train, and deploy model. We hire graduates or even MBAs from tier 3, tier 4 institutes. We put them through a 3-month residential course. And for that, we've tied up with an institute. But we have our employees who go in as lecturers. We also help the institute to create a curriculum for this course. And that has helped to a great extent. Okay, to give you a broad number, we had hired about 35 people across the country. Of those, we were able to absorb 33, which is a pretty high number. So I think this is one of the experiments that has helped us, and we want to continue doing that because this is the only way where we can get trained staff who can fit into our company and our culture. Because during these 3 months, it's not just technical knowledge that is important. It's important for students to understand our culture, interact with our people, and also they get to, during these 3 months, they also get to work on an internship with the company.
Got it.
So both theoretical and practical knowledge over these 3 months help the students to be better employable, so to speak.
Thank you.
I'll give an example of another industry, not my industry. I was in touch with the CEO who once told me that he needs to employ 2,000 people in a span of 6 months, and they are not available. So he was looking for some agency who could generate or produce those type of people. So I tried to understand what it is. So they were into medical transcription. Now see, medical transcription, friends, it's a very big field. It's a KPO. It's not really medical transcription, even the legal transcription. India being a very good, place for US to have these things done because we have a very good time zone difference. So in the night, what happens in US, they have HIPAA compliances, but the doctors are supposed to keep the medical record for 7 years. That cannot be kept in the voicemail. The dictaphone, they send it to India in the night when they finish. Our people, it's morning, we do all the work, in the night we send it back. So we are very good in doing all those things, and India is having a good population speaking English. But they're not able to get it. Now, how many universities know that there's something called as transcription that needs to be, we need to have this thing. So I met Mr. Vijay Khole. This was long back, the Vice Chancellor of Mumbai University in 2007 or something. And I told him, listen, there's a friend of mine who requires 2,000 people. You don't have that course. He put me on to Garware Institute. They said, yeah, it's a very interesting thing, but humne kiya nahi. So those people helped them to start that course, develop the curriculum and everything, and then they started in various colleges. I don't know how much it's going, but see, this is a requirement, this is a need of the hour, that we need to understand where the employability is there, what are the skills required. And if the universities can have those courses, a short courses, any graduate can do it, not necessarily science, even arts graduate can do it, there will be so much of employment.
Absolutely. If you could throw some light on maybe, we speak disproportionately about, hard skills or even functional skills for that matter. I think Ms. Roma Balwani spoke about, creative thinking, collaboration. I think some of the more softer skills. Yeah. I think a disproportionate number of employers, when they speak to us, are really looking, because 55% employment is in the services sector, really look from a soft skills perspective. Yeah. What do you think either corporate or even institutions can do about it?
Yeah, I think a lot of scope there, because anyways in our business we don't look for people who know factoring. I'm sure most of the audience has never heard about factoring, so we are not expecting that you know factoring. But what we try to say, for example, the general thing, can you read balance sheet? If you are an MBA Finance, you should know that much, like she said. So likewise, but yes, certain examples that I have seen, one, things are glorified for people, for students. They are told that you will be quickly growing. So the patience level, they need to be told the right picture that every year you are not going to get promoted. Things will not go around you. I remember an intern joining in relationship team. And we had hybrid at that point of time, and she called HR team and she said, I want to come to office on Thursday. Can you tell the whole team to come the same day? It's hybrid, you can come anytime. But the intern is expecting that people will revolve around her schedule. So that kind of expectation, that is one thing. Second, I'm seeing patience levels are very low, because like I said, things have been glorified and told, aisa ho jayega, vaisa ho jayega. Things would be very quick, like Instagram likes. It is not going to happen. So that is second thing. And third, I have seen that in depth, whenever they have to work, they find it really difficult. So putting in more efforts, because now ChatGPT is available to do assignments, maybe the capacity to work hard has also gone down. So these are some areas where institutes need to really work hard, and also involve academia in industry, because the right picture should be told to them. Many a times they think that I would not go for a sales job. Like we were discussing yesterday, we also face it. Whenever there is a sales role, the applications are very few, and at the last moment they will say, nahi, mujhe nahi karna. Because we know this generation is not where they need to make money for living. So these are some of the small things. I'm not putting big names around them, but very, very small things, but very important when it comes to not only entering there, but sustaining also the corporate life.
Got it. I'm just going to stay on that theme, Dr. Abhilasha. One of the lesser known things is that, the sector skill also kind of trains in-store promoters, right? Which is not necessarily hard functional skills, but even softer skills, right? Can you share, what is it that, the government is doing in this aspect?
Definitely we also have to set the expectation of the candidates, and not only when they are in college. The expectations have to be set once they are in school. They have to be told that it is not, because once we are talking to kids, the general question, once a child becomes 2 to 3 years old, once they start blabbering and speaking, the most favorite question of any parent or relative is, kya banoge bade hoke? And they would expect doctor, engineer, chartered accountant, maybe a fashion designer, textile designer. But do the parents also know that what are the different kind of jobs which are available? Like, let's say if we are talking about medical transcriptions or legal process outsourcing, what is happening, are we giving those options? Those options are not there. Not even in most of the textbooks. Yeah. I mean, the examples which are given in the textbooks will be around these 8 to 10 career also. that ways. So nobody will say, once I'll grow up, I'll become an in-store promoter or an in-store demonstrator. But just imagine how many jobs are there. Whenever you are stepping out of your house, you are going to any of the shops, the person who is there to sell that particular product, it can be a jewelry, it can be a retail, it can be a textile, it can be an electronic product, it can be anything. So that is the person who is demonstrating any product to you. So just imagine how many jobs which are available in the market. But are our candidates, are our kids aspire to become that? So that will not even one of the options in their case. But once we are talking this, so this is one of the CSR initiative of one of the, you can say a famous brand in electronics which is there. And under their CSR, so in phase 1, we have trained around 2,000 people in 52 cities. And these 52 cities are from remote parts of Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and almost we covered around 15 states, and in which they were given a month of training. And rather than calling soft skills, we have started calling it human skills, because there is nothing soft or hard. It is either a domain knowledge, a domain skill, or the human skills. And human skills is all about how you are communicating and how you are relating to a particular customer or a client in that case. So after this 1 month of training, a student undergoes 5 months of internship, and a stipend is being paid. So in phase 1, it was 10,000, and right now I'm happy to tell that we have collaborated with TeamLease only, and we'll be training 2,000 more people in next 10 months, where after 1 month of training, a candidate will be going for an internship for 5 months, and he'll be paid 15,000 rupees. The main reason is that a student doesn't have to come out from their remote area. So if a student is coming from, let's say, Dhanbad to Delhi, in that, if I calculate the cost of living in 15,000, he'll not make anything. But just imagine that he's staying at home and he's working at the nearby store. If he's getting 15,000, he'll be able to earn his livelihood. That is okay for him. So that is how these
yeah, and I think
some of the corporate initiatives.
Completely agree. And I think your point made on imagination of what jobs are available outside, is extremely poor. In fact, one statistic says 70% of jobs which are present today was not there in 1950s, right? I mean, just look at the, sheer, variety of jobs which are now there, which was not there previously. But I'll start with you on the next question, as to how to prepare people. See, much before, all our admiration for China, etc., and all that was Germany, right? And that's largely because of a robust, apprentice program that they put in place. Even as we speak, Germany is roughly 3%. China has about 20 million apprentices, but India is still 0.10% or 0.14% of the overall. What is it? We do have an apprentice program. What is it and where is it that we are going wrong in terms of corporates being able to adopt a lot more apprentices? Because that seems a real way of being able to introduce people in jobs. And you've studied the German system. If you could share, what has been your experience?
See, definitely, if I talk about the German VET, vocational education training system, then it says that in Germany, if we see and how they started, in a lot of other European countries also, they said that if a person had reached to a level of a CXO also, he might have gone through a 2 to 4 years of apprenticeship program. Whereas in India, if I talk to anybody as a parent also, that you get a choice that you would like your son or daughter to get enrolled in a BTech, BCom, BSc or a BVOC program. Or would you like, once the degree is completed, a student should go as an apprentice or as a full-time employee? Most of the parents say, no BVOC, we are not sure what kind of degree it is. Second is, no, we don't want to enroll them as an apprentice, because let them sit at home, we are capable enough, and we can make them feel, but we don't want to go them as apprenticeship. So I think a lot of mindset has to be changed. The reason is respect for skills is missing in India when I compare it with other countries. And that is the main reason why this ratios, what we are talking, are quite less in that case. But definitely the way forward is apprenticeship only in that case. Until and unless the industries feel that, until and unless the students have hands-on knowledge about that, what kind of, let's say, for example, for manufacturing companies, a student in their 2 to 4 years of complete undergraduation or post-graduation, they have never seen a manufacturing machine. They have never seen a CNC machine. They have never seen that what is EMS, what is SMT, on what machines they'll be operating. So they have only seen in the books. So once they reach, and that ma'am was also saying that they undergo a 3 months of training or a residential training, same way the same problem happens. But just imagine if in apprenticeship, let it be 3 months, 6 months, or let it be 12 months also, if students start going as an apprenticeship, so they'll have a complete 360-degree view that how a company works. And then I think this is one of the solution, a probable solution for this paradox also. The student is aware of how the industry is working, and industry is able to train them as per their requirements.
Yeah. From a more corporate perspective, hire, train, deploy is one of the models he spoke about. Why would across all industries, and earlier in the day we saw Atul Tiwari ji spoke, I think Dr. Vidya from Symbiosis also kind of asked that question, saying why that is the percentage of apprentice adoption is not high. What is the downside from a corporate perspective to be able to do that?
So we've tried hiring interns under this scheme. Our experience, and my personal experience has been that we've seen a lot of dropouts because the candidates have not been able to cope. They were not ready to take on these roles, and we ensured that we gave them an easy start, not really a challenging target-based job. We wanted them to learn. The objective was not to drive them to show performance or display performance, but the idea was to train them on the job. But one, we saw a lot of dropouts. The other thing was there was a sense of entitlement in most students. They felt, as an intern, I don't think I should work beyond, say, a 9 to 5. Okay, I'll do my job, and I feel I'm good at it, and I'm doing a good job, and they never accepted feedback. I think these couple of things were the key issues, which is why we were not very successful in driving this scheme in the companies that I had worked for in the past.
And I'm going to just use that. Sorry, you want to say something?
See, basically, I agree to what Govind says. It's a lot of investment when you're hiring an intern under whatever scheme it is. You hire 15, 20 of them. By the time 1 year is over, 70% are gone. So like a lot of time, money, energy we spend, and they are not available for us to continue. So I think the youth now is very restless. If there could be some sort of a binding that they have to complete the training and work at least for 2 more years, then it makes sense for us to move forward. That binding is not there. Today, bonds have no value. We don't take bonds from anyone. But if there is some sort of a binding from the universities or from the scheme or the policy makers, that once you are employed as an apprentice or a trainee in some company, you complete your training and then you will have to serve minimum 2 years. That will give us a lot of confidence to hire more and more people.
Got it. I think that's a more practical solution. I'm just going to take a segue from what both of them said. I think a very large part of the corporate narrative, and even amongst contemporaries, is that Gen Z and Gen A, we spoke about that earlier as well. There's a bit of a stereotyping that they perhaps not want to work that hard, right? In fact, some of my recruiters, if I ask them, saying when they kind of advertise for sales job, what is the 2 questions they get? The question 1 they get is saying, does the job have a target? Is it a field job or a sales job, right? And then, of course, that kind of fuels the stereotype around that. But I think we might be, perhaps being a bit more judgmental and harsh, because as somebody said, that's the generation which has been born, with so much more material comfort than the previous generation is born in. How much of the unemployment problem is really due to the fact that we are really not able to match the aspiration of what people want to do with the reality of what jobs there are right now? What's your view on that?
Yeah, I think that has been a problem with each generation. When we came into workforce, our earlier ones said, "Ye kisi kaam ke nahi hai," and now we are also saying the same thing, that "Ye kisi kaam ke nahi hai." So yes, as leaders, we have to do a lot of work and change our thought process, change our mindset. And I had a different experience from both of you when it comes to internship, apprentice. We got very good people. They are with us for quite some time. The only thing is, they want things to come by very quickly. 3 mahine ho gaye, please make me a full-time employee. That is not going to happen. So yes, a lot of stereotyping at our end also, but I have seen they are very enthusiastic. They know technology much better than us, and they are ready to put their foot forward. So some of the things I would say they bring to the table, we need to be ready to be reverse mentored and get attuned to their culture, their ways of working. So काम दोनों side को करना है.
Allow me to comment on this. My PhD topic was generational differences of Generation X and Generation Y for their work values and organizational commitment. You'll be surprised to know the organizational commitment of Generation Y, people who were born between 1980 to almost 2000, and people who were born from before 1980, organizational commitment was more for Generation Y. Whereas everybody is talking that the commitment of new generation is reducing. No. I'll tell you some of the examples. For Generation X, my job was 9 to 6 or 10 to 5. For the new generation, they don't look at the watch. If you give them a task, either they'll say, we'll not do it. If the guy will say, I will do it, then he'll complete it. He will not look at the watch, it is 9 p.m. or 12 p.m. So the commitment, and this was vetted by a lot of HRs also in that case. I'm not talking about work values because they were found more for Generation X, but organizational commitment, they said. And another thing, what was talked was instant gratification. Instant gratification is due to the ecosystem. भूख लगी, Zomato. कहीं जाना है, Uber. कुछ चाहिए, Amazon. कहीं जाना है, make my trip. So everything is instant. Within 2 to 3 minutes, I can do everything. So once they go to the jobs, so that is the instant gratification what they look forward. स्कूल के अंदर में आप कुछ गलत करते थे, आज आपका 2 साल का बच्चा ड्राइंग करता है, जो बचपन से करते हैं, एक फिगर बना है, उसमें कलर करना है. कलर बाहर निकलता था, पहले हम डांट मारते थे. आजकल कलर बाहर निकलता है, वैसे आउट ऑफ बॉक्स, फेसबुक, इंस्टा पे बोला, वाओ, लुक एट माय चाइल्ड. You can't use a red pen in the school. You can't fail a child. In sports meet, you find top 3 and you find bottom 3 also, Santavana Puruskar. So this is the kind of parenting. This is what is happening in the schools. How can you think when these kids will come to the offices and the manager will say, do this, and they'll say, no, you give a pat on my back, you give me a certificate, मैं तो नहीं काम करूँगा. So I was in one of the CHRO conference few years back, and they said कि बच्चों को यूनिफॉर्म में नहीं आना था, हमने बोला चाहे शॉर्ट्स पहन के आइए. बच्चों को अपनी गाड़ी से नहीं आना था, हमने कैब देना शुरू कर दिया. ब्रेकफास्ट, लंच, डिनर ऑफिस में ही सब होता है. हमें टेबल चेयर पे नहीं बैठना है, हमारे ऑफिस में बीन बैग्स है. अब हम क्या करें कि ये बच्चे काम करें? So these are the real life problems in the workforce, and definitely some changes have to be done. That's why I say if this paradox has to become paradise, then the things have to start from school. And when I say school, so let's change the ABCD. And when I say change the ABCD, literally change the ABCD. So it's not A for apple, B for boy, C for cat, or D for dog. Why it started? So that because these things were near, it was easy for a parent or for a teacher to relate to the kids that this is what, and you learn this alphabet. Why don't we have A for artificial intelligence, B for blockchain, C for cyber or coding, or D for data analytics, and I for IoT or sensor? And believe me, it will not be difficult for teacher or parents. Tell them, if you're talking to Alexa, it's machine learning. If you're going somewhere, the door opens. So that's a sensor. If you put your hand under a tap, the water is coming. But just imagine a 3-year-old child, if they will be told about these concepts, then what we are talking about, the STEM education or the kind of vision what the kids need to have, so they'll have a different mindset. Imagine everybody is talking about semiconductors. India still does not have a fabrication unit in India for chips, whereas everybody is using those chips. When we go to 12th class students and we meet them, we literally have to tell them that what the government is talking about chips and wafers, they are not from Lay's. There's something else. So these are kind of things. One more, I'll just take a few more seconds, and I'll just like to ask regarding the NAPS question. Do you really feel there are a lot of people from corporate here? Do you really feel you can be jailed, or let it be softer? Do you really feel you can be fined if you don't hire an apprentice in your organization? If you can raise your hands. The government can fine you or jail you if you don't hire apprentices? Nobody feels. Yes, they can. So that's a law. National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme says that if you are a manufacturing or a service unit, if you hire more than 30 employees in your company, then you need to hire minimum 2%, maximum 15% of the employees as apprentices. If you don't do it, it's a legal compliance, which you are not following. So this kind of advocacy is required. And government pays you back. There's a direct benefit transfer. So if you are hiring an apprenticeship, if you are getting a contract generated, some amount will be returned back to you, and that is also a direct benefit transfer. So if people will know that these facilities are available, I'm sure the percentages will increase. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think we are pretty much over time, but great points made. In summary, there's no one silver bullet to kind of solve for this. We heard from academia, we heard from corporates on what issue they were. I think great point on, some of the more recent generation being really committed. We spoke to, the chairman of a large FMCG company based out of here. One of the things he said, listen, which needs to distinctly change in the way we are interacting with Gen Z is, don't aim for loyalty, aim for commitment. If they're going to stay for 2 years, they'll be committed for the 2 years. They're not going to be committed to stay with you for 10 years. And I think that's the big difference. Thank you so much. Great points. And thank you to the audience.
That was indeed an insightful and thought-provoking discussion. Quoting John Dewey again, if we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, we rob them of tomorrow. So let us all do our bit in forging the alliance between education and employability. I would now request Mr. Kartik to present the memento to our panelists. Requesting Dr. Abhilasha Gaur to present the memento to Mr. Kartik. A group photo, please.